All right. So make that a blooper and use that as a. Hey, what's up, boys? We're drinking, and it's Sunday, and you know what that means. It was fight night yesterday, and we went just a little too hard. And that's okay, because today you're watching Throwing Hands, the first MMA podcast from SuperSour Network. Here we go. We're mostly going to be talking about, Bellator, UFC, ONE FC, anything that's big in fighting, but mostly UFC for the most part. So for this podcast today, we're going to be talking about the most recent card that happened with Aspinall and Curtis Blades. We're talking about some events that's been going on, and then we'll be going over some fun fight videos every once in a while if we can. So if you're wondering just from my accolades when it comes to talking about this stuff, usually we have my stuff up for the pod, but we kind of forgot today. But I do train jiu-jitsu. I just luckily got my second stripe. Still a white belt, but two stripes in. And been watching MMA since I was 18 years old. And just have a huge love and deep respect for their sport. So I just find, as with many people, who better to talk about some of these things that are going on, who can put a nice little comedy spin with a little info spin on it for you as well. So without any more of that, let's go ahead and get into the episode and talk about everything MMA that's been going on for the past just about 2 weeks. So before we get into talking about the most recent card and the fighting news, I just want to quickly shout out, as if any of y'all would see this, but if you didn't know, we got a lot of retirements recently. That's Jessica Evil Eye, Donald Cerrone, Magomed Shapirov, a couple other fighters too, but those biggest to name. Just sucks. Those were 3 really great fighters for the divisions, and it sucks to see them go. But it was the time for all of them to go, and they're all going to go on to bigger things. Cerrone's going to be a movie star. Jessica Red Eye, is going to go be a WWE star, and Magomed Shapirov is... those guys from Dagestan and Russia and Tiger Muay Thai, they will just go fight for, I don't know, doubloons somewhere. I don't know. They'll do their thing. They'll figure it out. But thanks for all you guys do. That was awesome. All the fights. Big fan. So sad to see you guys go, but I'm happy to see you guys go at the same time. Okay, so this most recent card, Curtis Blade, Thomas Aspinall, a.k.a. Mini Frank Mir. That's what I call him. I don't know if the world calls him that. So let's just go over the card real quick. Really good card. The prelims were nothing to really boast about, although there was a performance of the night. But that's not really anything to talk about. We got Molly Meatball McCann. That's an awesome nickname. Who got that sick back spinning elbow on that knockout. So shouts out for that. Really good fight there. It was a really quick knockout, in the first round. So not much to go off of there, but. Again, considering the prelims are pretty lackluster, but apparently I didn't know that. Sometimes I don't do my full analysis on these fights and these fighters, and apparently there was only a lot of deep hugs. I didn't see a lot of kisses, so I don't know if she's like dating Patty the Baddie, or if she's related to him. But deep ties there between her and Patty, so that was cool to see that she won because that's a lot of pressure. But let's talk about Paul Craig real quick versus Ozdemir. Never seen a more overwhelming defeat in the crowd. The crowd was it was the first fight of the main card. Paul Craig came out, and Paul Craig's he's a good fighter, been around for some time. But the crowd, if you were watching, was elated. They couldn't believe. I might as well have been cheering Sweet Caroline for him when he came out. And yeah, pulling a Darren Till for him. But Ozdemir shut it down so quick. He just wrestled him. He controlled him. He boxed him up real good. Paul Craig looked like shit after that fight. But the fans loved him until that happened. That's what's weird. They just I don't think they really cared about Paul Craig. They just were like, I mean, I believe Paul Craig's from London. That's where they were at. They were in London, probably in the area. But, sad to see that happen. It was just funny to see a crowd so elated for, like, the very first guy, and it's just, like, really a nobody, and then he got decimated. The crowd gets so quiet after that. They are not very supportful after that. Speaking of being decimated, Alexander Gustafsson lost his fight. Alexander Gustafsson needs to retire. Alexander Gustafsson comes back at light heavyweight again. Went up to heavyweight before this fight, but now he's back at light heavyweight fighting Nikita Krylov. The second I saw that fight matchup, I could tell anybody that's a bad matchup. And Gustafsson was going to lose that fight. But I always have high hopes. Gustafsson, if it's my advice, go back to breeding pit bulls, bud. It's much more adorable when you do that. And then we got Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett is... I was watching a video earlier this morning, and it really described it. His striking is sus. Let's say that. It's sus. He has this hype behind him that I believe he knows how to talk, kind of. He definitely knows how to fight. He's definitely a tough dude because I've seen him. We've all seen him take shots that would put anybody down, and he fights through it. So that's cool. That's good and all, but, I mean, one of those shots will eventually put you down. One of those shots will eventually get the KO. And his striking, so he falls into his opponents a lot. He rush strikes a lot, and he loses his balance. So it's not really a whole lot of game to it, and that could be, equated to him getting rocked so much in the fights. But at the same time, kicks are amazing. Kicks are on point, but really got to tighten up that striking. Otherwise, he's eventually going to get he's going to get KO'd. Jack Hermanson beats Chris Curtis in a decision. Nobody cares about that. And then Curtis Blades versus Tom Aspinall. I didn't see the fight live. I had to watch it afterwards. And I wasn't too disappointed when I saw it was a 15-second KO with Curtis Blades winning. But I don't like that they put KO because Tom Aspinall broke his leg. So went in to throw a deep leg kick, broke his leg. Common occurrence right now in the UFC. And shame. Such a shame. I mean, Curtis Blades had real good class. He didn't act like all these other fighters who will celebrate afterwards. He just kind of questioned what happened and pointed to everybody being like, yo, you obviously know that's not how I want this to go, but can't control that. So hopefully mini Frank Mir is going to recover okay. Curtis Blades gets the dub, and the heavyweight division still sucks. So that did nothing. So that fight card did nothing for nobody. I mean, except for, I would say, Paddy. Paddy gets a good bump. Nikita Krylov gets a good bump. Molly gets a good bump. Good news for a couple fighters, but realistically, the fights that it was supposed to be popular for did not perform. So let's talk about 2 fight cards ago, Israel Adesanya, Jared Cannonier. That should have been the fight card to talk about, the fight to talk about. Jared Cannonier should have given him a hell of a fight, and he did. Who are we to say? But it was lackluster, as some of Izzy fights are turning out to be from time to time, and somebody had to weigh in on that, and that's Star-Lord himself, Chris Pratt. And that's okay. I think that he was invited by the UFC as a guest to watch the fights because UFC does have a deal with Disney, so that makes sense. And they asked Chris Pratt in just a passing interview who he thought the fight he said he wanted Jared Cannonier to win, and he thought Jared Cannonier was going to win. And then after the fight, when Jared Cannonier lost, he was disappointed, and he was interviewed, and he said,
"Never stepped in the octagon. I don't know this game. I'm just an actor, but I'm not a fan, man. I'm not a fan of coming out like all that talk and then just kind of putting on a little bit of a pitter patter. I'm like, come on, man, give cash on that. You gotta cash that promise, of being so badass. And I don't know. If I bet with my money, I would have bet Adesanya would have done something like that. But I was hoping to see Cannonier.
The setup let you down. The setup.
I'm not gonna lie.
That can be equated to movie stars too, right? If he was going around telling people like Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be the best movie ever, and you need to know that, like everybody be like, well, I hope you fucking perform, bro. Like but he doesn't act like that. But you do, Israel. So he's just being. I think that's especially from somebody who respects the sport so much. That's a fair comment to say. And unfortunately, Israel Adesanya got super butthurt, and he took to Twitter about it and posted quite the funny video, actually. And we do have that, and we'll put it right here.
It's great, bro. Who's the man? I'm the man.
I'm the man. And it's like, after that, then what do you think would happen? Like, nothing should happen. But Chris Pratt, such a nice guy, such the sweetest person, such the sweetest soul on this earth, apologizes to Izzy. You are the man, brother. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not in there. Like, I'm not in there like you, and I shouldn't say things like that. That was out of line, and that's my bad. And I mean, Israel still has beef with him. He's still upset with him. And it's like, why? Why are you so upset? You're the middleweight champion of the world. You're the baddest man in the 185 division across all of MMA. And you're worried what Star-Lord has to say? I mean, he literally ruined it with Thanos, and you're going to give him this grief now? He don't need that. Come on, man. He lost his green girlfriend, bro. That's messed up. Give him a break. Such a nice guy. Just the nicest. I can't look at him and not see Andy. Can't not see the scene of, yep, I just shit my pants on camera. And that makes you feel good. Okay. Yeah. In other MMA news, we got Nate Diaz versus Kamaev? Russian man. We got Nate's next fight book. It's going to be Nate's last fight. With every fight with the Diaz brothers, I believe that Nate Diaz is going to win. Am I nervous? Round 4. Yeah, it's his last fight though. He's gonna go. I'll explain in a minute here. Reese is super concerned about that being his last fight. Well, just like it was Nick's last fight at one point, it had to be Nate's last fight at some point. And Nate wants to get out younger than his brother. I think he's younger than his brother when Nick got out. But anyway, he wants to get out when he's still fairly young and got a good mind, and I think that's a good move. He wants more pay, and the UFC just won't give it to him. So he's going to take this last fight, and it's going to be a good money fight for him. That's the thing, though. If he wins this fight, and I don't think Nate cares about that, if he wins this fight, it puts that division in a horrible spot because then Kamaev is just going to be, what do I do now? I lost to Nate, and he's gone. He doesn't even fight here anymore, so... it is a weird thing when that happens. I wish they would have given him more of like a big money fight instead, but he'll take that. And then with that being said, he's doing it because he's trying to go fight Jake Paul in boxing next. So, and Jake Paul wants that fight. So, but he has to be out of his UFC contract. So, round 4. That's where round 4 comes in. So it's his last fight, but it ain't his last fight. Round 4. I ain't hear no bell. So we're rooting for Nate on that fight. Put your money down for Nate. He's definitely going to box him up. I think his jiu-jitsu overall is going to take over the wrestling if he comes. Like, the Diaz brothers come some nights, and other nights they don't care. They just come and they realize I can just get paid to be here. It's what it seems like. I would never put that on them intentionally, but it's just how it seems when they fight. But when they come to fight, they will box you up. The second you go down, they'll roll you over. They'll put you in some regular crazy locks. They don't care. Yeah, and they'll have their reasons, and that is what it is. But that's why they're my favorites, because one way or the other, they're the toughest sons of bitches out there, and I've seen them at their best. And when they're at their best, they fuck anybody up on any day, because they'll get in your mind first. That's the thing. Most of the guys they really beat up, when you see those fights where they like really beat a guy up, if you watch the pressers and everything like that, and everything they talk, the shit talk before the fight, it's always the guy like, why is he talking this much shit to me, man? There's... I got your mom's keys right. Yeah, they're so confused. They don't understand it. Yeah. And what's best about that is, like, even though it's a funny example, the best thing is, like, you've seen it. The best example is, like, it's just the simple shit talk. The fighter will get on the mic and they'll be like, they'll ask a question. They'll be like, so, what do you think about the fight coming up this weekend? Well, I think I'm better, and I think it's an obvious win for me. I'm very appreciative for my opponent for taking it, and at the end of the day, though, I'm going to be walking away with the W. And then they'll be like, and Nate, what's your response? And Nate will go, fuck you, bitch. Fuck your whole team. You're a fucking bunch of pussies, bitch. Fuck you. I'll slap you in your fucking face, bitch. Okay, Nate, anything about the fight? Oh yeah, he's a fucking pussy. He doesn't stand a chance, homie. Like, and you're like, and the fighter's like, can he do that? Can he do that? Is that okay to do? And Dana's like, retorts. Anything to say back? So when they're able to do that to the guy, they've already won. But some guys, it doesn't matter. They don't care that they're gonna do. They know that's their game, and they know that they're a better fighter than them, like in their minds. And at the end of the day, they're gonna go ahead and take them out. So we'll see. We'll see how the Russian wrestling goes up against the Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Shouts out 209 Stockton, California. Where you at? I think George is scared. I think he's running from me. I don't think he's actually hurt. I think he's running. Okay, and we also have Henry Cejudo trying to make his comeback. I know they're talking about a lot of fights for him. He's trying to make his own fights at the same time. We don't think it's going to happen, but if you haven't seen it, here's a little clip of him trying to make his own fights happen.
Second check. That's all I'm worried about right now.
Okay. Did you see the interaction this week with Henry Cejudo and Aljamain Sterling? And what did you make of that?
I didn't see that.
You want a matchup if he's right here? I'd love a tune-up. What do you say, Precious?
Serious?
What do you say?
You're good to go now,
Yeah,
huh?
I'm good to go.
Say it.
What would you want to bend the knee at what time? Because I think you absolutely suck.
What do you weigh?
Go ahead, carry on with the interview. Go ahead, carry on.
Okay, it's cringy. No one takes that dude serious.
I
Look
honestly,
at him, he's smiling, laughing. He's not even taking that serious.
My man went for the Chael Sonnen, you absolutely suck. It's kind of cringe watching him talk shit, to be honest, but it was good. And to pick on Sean O'Malley is a very random fight. It's a big fight. It's a good way to come back, but you are the former champion. You retired double champ. You retired champ. It's obvious you should come back and fight Volkanovski. There's no other fight for Volkanovski right now. And the right decision would be to have Henry Cejudo come back and try to take the title from him. That's all that makes sense. That's what should happen. But if we get Henry Cejudo over Sean O'Malley, I'm not going to be mad. The thing about Cejudo is, even though that's the fight that makes sense, he's a smart fighter and he wants a tune-up fight. That's what he's saying. That's what he says to him. I could use a tune-up fight, and he means that. He doesn't want to come back and just fight for the title. He wants to come back and decimate some guy to let everybody know I'm here and I never fucking left. And then he's going to go take the championship. And then he'll leave again and try to go fight women in PFL. Henry Cejudo is a gangster. Okay, so before we go on to our street fight segments, let's talk about the next week's card. On July 30th, we have an ESPN Plus card. Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes. Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara France. Kaioken! Derek Lewis versus Sergey Pavlovich. We got Alexandre Pantoja versus Alex Perez. Magomed and Anthony Smith. I'm sure I messed some of those names up. I know I definitely messed one of those up. How disrespectful. Shouts out Amanda Nunes, the Lioness. We're obviously pulling for Amanda. We want the Lioness to get her title back. That was a fluke. Juliana Pena absolutely sucks. And she's the worst. She's just a Misha Tate copy. And she got it by a fluke because she just wrestled. And Nunes came in flat. If Nunes comes in ready to go, in weight, in shape, focused, then she can take her. You know, she just got to use her jiu-jitsu more. These black belts and brown belts forget that they're brown belts and black belts. And it's like, yo, use that shit. Use it. Remember where you're at. Sometimes, and it's been said before, sometimes you get so much into striking and you knock some people out and you forget that you're so good at grappling. And you can really lose sight of that. And don't lose sight of that shit, man. Just grapple. I tell people all the day, like, train boxing, train everything. Like, train striking for sure, but at the end of the day, I'm taking your ass down. I'm taking you to the ground, fam. And we're going to figure it out there. Which I guess is me pulling for Juliana Pena more, you know what I mean? Considering I'm saying for the ground game, but I just want Amanda Nunes to get better at it is all. So good fights overall, but could it be better? Of course, but it's a decent main card. We won't really go too much into the early prelims or the prelims. They do have some good fights, but we'll talk about that on the next Throwing Hands. So let's move on to something that I personally want to talk about. And every once in a while, we'll give our own little MMA opinions about, you know, MMA has been going on so long now at this point that we get to be lucky to be like the other sports, to where now we get to reminisce about old days of fighters and everything. And in that spirit, I want to talk about a fighter, Roy Nelson. Roy Big Country Nelson. And that's a very nostalgic home name for everybody. Everybody loves Roy Nelson. I love Roy Nelson. But let's be real, guys. The hype behind Roy Nelson was too much. I think they took Roy Nelson, and UFC does this thing where, like, especially back in the day, if you were good at something that was not like striking or boxing or jiu-jitsu, they hyped you up to no prevail. They were like, oh my God, he's been doing Krav Maga for 22 years. He's a Krav Maga specialist. He might use it in the fight. You don't know. Roy Nelson happened to be this guy to where he said when he was younger, he liked to he did multiple martial arts, multiple karate, kempo, Muay Thai, you know, all these different kinds of sports. If you don't know, if you've never seen Roy Nelson, he looks like this. So when you see him say that kind of stuff, you're like, what? But it was true. But because of that, they took that, and every time Roy Nelson fought, they'd be like, you never know. Remember, he trained Kempo, and he trained with the art of fighting with sticks and swords, so he uses that to his ability. And at the end of the day, Roy Nelson would just stalk his opponent like this, and then, just throw overhand rights. And then, I gotcha. That's all he would do all day long. That's all he would do. And then he'd get on the ground, and then some days he'd put his fat fucking belly over people and be like, I got him. And he would somehow tap them if he could. And people would be like, you know, he's good at jiu-jitsu, you know. He does have wrestling under his belt. And he'd be like, yeah, he's also got fucking 3/4 pounders under there too. He's not, he was such a nice guy, and he was so fun to watch that people really lost sight of, like, he could never be in today's MMA because he doesn't care enough, you know? Like, it was just a funny thing for UFC to do. He was a clown gag. Yeah, look at him fucking dance around in his karate stuff, and then he comes here and he tries to do that, and it doesn't work because it's not real what he does. So all he knows is jiu-jitsu and fighting, like, with his right hand. So I don't want this to seem like I hate Roy Nelson. I really do love Roy Nelson, but I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, I can't let this go on with people like, man, Roy Nelson was one of the greatest heavyweights. And I'm like, well, no, he wasn't. No, he got beat up a lot, and he knocked out a few chumps. Sure. Did he knock out also a couple of legends? Sure. Any dude with a right hand can do that. Mark Hunt is a true legend. Mark Hunt's a guy who was that size, and Mark Hunt is a guy who really actually fought people. K1 kickboxing champion, okay? Actually, like, he was a guy too, same thing. All he wanted to do was leaping left hook. But that's better than going for the overhand. And also, he would go and then go for a straight right sometimes. You know, he'd go for the cross. I'm just saying. Maybe we show more respect to Mark Hunt than we show Roy Nelson. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so each week here at Throwing Hands on SuperSour Network, we're going to bring you a street fight of some kind of viral fight that's been going on, and we're going to break it down for you and tell you what we think. This fight is in London, I'm going to say, somewhere in the UK. Very Middle Eastern guys running a restaurant. I believe it's probably a shawarma place, if I had to guess. And somebody from, that's fair to say, right? Middle East? Yes. And there's definitely some very old white British guy who is pissed. He's pissed. Both ways. He's pissed, drunk, and he's pissed. And that's Australian, but still. And he is letting them have it. And you can see in this thumbnail here that we're going to have shown up, he's got his finger up. So I want to say this before we watch the video. I have seen this video once. And it's a lot like trying to fight in your dream. It's like if you're trying to fight somebody in your dream. So let's watch this.
You and that person, right? Yeah. So don't tell me to fucking... No. Are you ready? Are you ready? No. Go out! Go out! Look, you see me? What? You bit of a bitch slap.
His friend looks upset that he got punched.
Come on, you cunt.
Come on, you cunts. He's like an NPC. This is an NPC fight. Now, go out. Still telling him to go up, but going at him. guy coming at them like the goblin from Lord of the Rings, chasing the two hobbits through the forest. Come here!
Right, you think you fucking talk, right, you think you talk, you cunt to fuck you, right, right, you're gonna go now, do you? You're gonna go now, do you? Right?
Dude, Gordon Ramsay's really lost his ways.
Like this, right, see your hand's gonna go in there, right, you get 1 minute. No, please, right, well, please, right, listen. I'm some strong fucking. I'm a strong bastard, right?
He tells them he's a strong bastard.
Come on, he's not out, right? I'm gonna see your fucking head in there. It is not out.
Dude, this guy trying to fight them is real as shit. Oh, they've lost them into the back room now. It was such a casual way they went back there. That's their new catchphrase for this restaurant. Go out! Go out! Go out!
Go out!
Yeah.
Please take it.
Yeah.
Right,
Take it.
let him go then.
Oh, let him go then.
Let him go.
Oh, think you're being funny, do you?
Let him go.
Go on then. Stop being silly.
Please go.
Oh, jeez. They're all so bad. Good takedown. That's a good takedown. That's smart.
You and that person, right? So don't.
Wow. I mean, everybody was so bad at fighting in that clip. I mean, I think the British guy overall is like a decent fighter in real life, but he's so plastered he can't keep his balance. Also, he's back behind the counter where it's super slick and slippery. So they obviously have non-slip. He does not. They have the advantage. They should have won that fight easily, but they clearly have no want to fight at all. That's what I'd see. I wouldn't say like they don't have any skill. They don't want to fight. They're just trying to work at the shawarma place, bro. And I mean, I can't help but to listen. I'm on nobody's side here, to be honest with you, because they couldn't handle it well. That's why I'm not on their side. But I like this British guy because of how. Come on, you cunts! Come on, I'm a tough bastard. Fight me. I think he just wants to fight them. I think he went in for shawarma and then realized, oh, there's two of them, eh? Oi. Oi, you think you two can fight me? Sir, what would you like on your shawarma? Oi. You two ever seen UFC? You two ever seen those Russian fights where they have two people fight one? Huh? You think because I'm pissed you think I can't fight you, eh? Oh, come here, you cunt! I mean, it's silly, but it's you respect the aggressiveness in it, and I mean the threat in that voice. I mean, you would think most people, shouts out to them too. Most people would back down to that, but they were like, "Go out, go out." I mean, my advice, fight wise, shout more than go out. Shout back harder at him. Bear him. Try to be bigger than him and bear him. And then the takedown should have happened from the get-go. I mean, he's drunk. So if anybody's ever super drunk coming at you, go for the takedown. Don't fist fight them. They can get lucky, and they have arm strength. But when you're drunk, all your strength is up here. You don't have any strength. I'm telling you from somebody who drinks regularly. When you're plastered, you got nothing down here, fam. It's all up here. So when you're fighting somebody who's drunk, help them, help yourself. Go for the takedown. Hold them down. They'll eventually fall asleep. I mean, most likely they will. So, I mean, in the end, give the guy the free shawarma. I'm sure that's what he wanted. I'm sure. Well, we've come to the end of the street fight video, which means we've come to the end of the first ever throwing hands video. Boo, I know, right? But don't worry. We'll be back next week. We record every Sunday, Monday for this, so we're going to figure out the schedule as this goes on. But we'll be back next week with covering all that's MMA. And we'll be drinking, so it'll sound just like this. But if you love MMA and you like some joking about fighting and shit like that, share this to your friends. Share this to the friends that you hate. Please follow us on all social media, SuperSourjir. And please follow us on our Patreon, patreon.com/SuperSour. Follow us on Twitch, twitch.com/SuperSourGames. Please stay active in our comments. Like the video if you've been here so far. Subscribe and tie-dye all those buttons across the board. the dislike too. Tie-dye them all. No, don't dislike don't dislike the video. But just tie-dye everything else. And we appreciate you for being here. Shouts out. Shouts out, SuperSour Reese.